Crown, destined by fate. Blade, broken by tempest. Prisoner, hanged in the tower. Sacrifice made for salvation. Hope, reshaped in storms. Freedom, found in storm's wake. Cartethyia, the wandering knight who travels across Rinascitta. Formerly known as the Blessed Maiden, the Vessel of Divinity, and the Queen of Gale and Tide, she went by the name Fleur-de-Lis. Now, she is simply a free and unfettered wandering knight. The knight's faded hours. A retired dramatist enjoys telling a certain story. Once upon a time, in the countryside of Eglatown, there was a wandering knight. With sword in hand, he journeyed far and wide in search of a legendary giant. A giant who stood as tall as a windmill, with arms long and slender like its blades. Time after time, the wandering knight fought with everything he had against the giant, but the giant never spoke a word, only ever waving its arms, rendering the knight's attacks futile. Some mocked the knight's foolishness, some pitied his delusion. After all, that so-called giant was nothing more than a windmill, and his battles were but a fantasy. But the countryside's most mischievous girl saw it differently. She found herself a knight's helmet and begged the dramatist for a small wooden sword. To fight for such a giant, he must possess a heart of pure nobility. And so, she too wished to be like the knight, to seek out the giant who destroyed homes and scattered livestock, and see that the golden thief bats lurking along roads could no longer steal a single treasure from travelers. Riding flamboyantly on a tumbleyak, she raced through the wheat fields. The world had never felt so vast. This was where the Blessed Maiden's legends began. Through the fields, through the festivities, and into the inverted tower. It would be a grand quest. Steadfast in the final dance. This quest continued for some time. In those unnoticed moments, the girl visited every field in Whisperwind Haven. Mischievous and free-spirited by nature, she even stole sips of sacramental wine under the watch of guards, danced away on high platforms, and turned the solemn ceremony into complete madness. Even the Order's prison walls became her personal canvas. "She's really the most rambunctious girl in the countryside," people would say. "A serious fate isn't one she's meant for, and no wall, no matter how strong, could ever keep her from spreading her wings." Yet, to everyone's surprise, she was chosen by the divinity. Why her? Some questioned. She was only the daughter of an official, a peasant girl lacking discipline. Not a drop of noble blood ran in her veins. How would she ever come to understand the hierarchies of the world? "She's the one!" others exclaimed. "She listens to our sorrows and replaces them with joy. If anyone is worthy of divinity's crown, it is her!" But what would the one bearing the name Fleur-de-Lis think of all this? Before the ceremony to receive her holy name, in a dull and stuffy hall, she performed her final dance as Cartethyia. Was she confused by divinity's whispers, fearful of an uncertain future, confident that she could wield the sacred sword? She simply kept the name Cartethyia hidden deep within her heart. Farewell, grain fields swaying in the breeze, and the tumbleyaks roaming so free. In a world so vast, someone must take up the sword. Someone must bind themselves in thorns. Someone must accept the weight of responsibilities. Someone must become Fleur-de-Lis, the guardian of Rinascitta. Hesitation amid gale and tide. As Fleur-de-Lis, she must march to war with sword in hand. For this, she learned everything she could. She studied Order scriptures and honed her combat skills. She listened to the voices of the people, devoting herself to fulfilling their wishes. When someone prayed for good health, she arranged for the delivery of valuable medicines. When someone sought peace, she would listen to their confessions, taking in their past sorrows. When a tacit discord outbreak occurred, she drew her sword and crushed it in its infancy. These actions were no different from what she had done back home. The only difference was that she was no longer facing a small village or familiar faces. Most of those seeking her help were strangers, and she understood that each of them was like a small lamp. The more she helped, the more they would shine in the night sky of Rinasita. Yet, the world was so vast, and the order was far from flawless as the books had claimed. The nobility were fixated only on their own interests, and self-proclaimed devout acolytes merely performed their faith, turning a blind eye to the people's cries. She saw nobles who boasted of their good hearts while stuffing their pockets, refusing to hear the pleas of those suffering. At times like these, all she could do was tighten her grip on her sword. She experienced doubt, disturbance, and disappointment. And because of this, her grip only tightened as she faced the dark tide. She would question the divinity. She must. No matter the answer that awaited her, Fleur-de-Lis was ready for it. With this resolve, she walked into the tower, alone. Yet within solitude, she seemed to have dreamed for a very long time. In that dream, hymns and praises poured toward her in endless waves, engulfing her. She raised her sword to cut through the waves again and again, battling the giant sea creatures in those waters. She fought with all her might. Even when the waters turned into blades sharp enough to slice flesh, she did not take a single step back. When she opened her eyes, she found herself alone in an unfamiliar place. Where was she? What was her purpose? Who was she? Questions whose answers had slipped beyond memory. She wandered the tower in search of what was lost. She even tried to find a way into the central tower to seek answers. But after exploring every corner she could reach, she found nothing but herself. There was no other existence. She was the only soul there. So, she began to converse with herself. She stitched dolls from scraps. She invented stories. Curiously, the fog of her memories began to lift, little by little, beneath her fingertips. She made one doll of a sword-wielding girl and another of a sea monster. She muttered a few lines of dialogue between them, then paused. She knew this story. She'd heard it before. The wandering knight, the sword-wielding girl, had journeyed to confront the terrifying giant of legend, the sea monster. Time and time again, she fought it with everything she had. No matter what the wandering knight, the sword-wielding girl, was fighting for, she understood one thing. Each time she raised her sword, she did not care about her past. She only cared about what needed to be done at that very moment. And if that were true, then losing her memories was no great loss. In a world so vast, she would find herself again. And when that time comes, whether she turns out to be the warrior or the monster, it's an answer she would be willing to accept. The wandering knight marches to freedom. Inside a small restaurant in Whisperwind Haven, a young girl orders several lotus salads. While waiting for her food, she quietly sneaks into the kitchen, following the head chef and carefully observing her culinary techniques. A few more of these whiskenberries, please. Yes, and another. You can add more honey as well. Yes, thank you. And where did you come from, little rascal? If you're waiting for your food, you need to wait outside. The head chef puts down her utensils and looks up, pausing in astonishment. The girl before her seems familiar, but she can't quite place a name. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to pick up some of your cooking skills. I have a long journey ahead of me, and I might not have the fortune to come across a restaurant serving such delicious food again. If my apology isn't enough, I'll chop some firewood for you instead. Is this your first time eating at a restaurant? I have a feeling I've seen you before. The head chef hands the curious girl her food. Was it from that stained glass window? This isn't my first time, actually, but it's been quite a while since I last visited. The girl replies, taking the plate. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Cartethyia. I'm a wandering knight preparing for a new quest. If you ever need help, do let me know. I just had to try this before I begin my journey. The girl scoops up a spoonful of salad and takes a bite. In a world so vast, A salad full of viscumberries made the beginning of her journey feel just right. How delicious, she praises from her heart. Worn wooden sword. A small wooden stage prop sword. Even the quiet countryside of Eglatan wasn't untouched by Rinasita's popular stage plays. Spinning windmills and brilliant knightly legends shaped Cartethia's childhood. This wooden sword was a gift from a retired dramatist. Each day after her lessons, she would patrol the village with bright eyes and high spirits, brandishing it as she dealt with every injustice she encountered. This should have been the start of her journey to becoming a wandering knight. Fate is full of what should have been, but it never unfolds as we imagine. Golden Laurel. A small golden laurel. When the golden crown was placed upon her head, the divinity's whispers reached her ears for the first time. From that moment on, she was no longer Cartethyia. She would become Rinasita's blessed maiden, the fleur-de-lis spoken of by all. Fate can be too kind at first, only to become a rain that never stops falling. Hand puppets. Hand puppets locked in a scuffle. She had searched the tower for what felt like forever, yet found no trace of another soul. So she made puppets, staging play after play, just to keep from forgetting how to speak and to fill the silence of being alone. She missed the plays she had seen in the world of the living, missed the wheat fields of the countryside, missed sweet drinks and the sounds of people laughing. Fate can fill us with nostalgia, even as it sends us onward, alone.
Forte examination report. Resonance ability, Feather Tempest. Resonance evaluation report RA-X006. Time of awakening unknown. It is speculated that due to the opposing influences exerted by Sentinel Imperator and Threnode Leviathan, Cartethia's Spectrum performance data exceeds standard values by... Calculation of accurate data using existing methods is impossible. Analysis of test samples has revealed a non-convergent rebels curve with a pronounced periodic waveform. Therefore, Cartethyia is classified as a congenital resonator. System has classified Cartethyia as a unique subject. Her foil has been sealed under a special project group. Access clearance. System will conduct continuous monitoring of Cartethyia. Overclock diagnostic report. Cartethia's waveform graphs shows elliptical fluctuations with a stable time domain. Peak values between upper and lower bounds show intermittent upward trends, with peak values not yet exceeding critical threshold. No abnormal fluctuations have been observed. External and internal forces within Cartethyia have nearly reached a state of fusion. Resonant criticality, high. Stability is high with minimal risk of overclocking. However, it is worth noting that Cartethia's body shows unstable power fluctuations when distant from Rinasita. Cartethyia is a rare individual who has undergone a second awakening, enabling her to transition freely between two forms. It must be emphasized that this is not a case of overclocking, but rather the precise invocation of her powers.
A note from a bloombearer. When Miss Cartethyia, Fleur-de-Lis, demonstrated her powers, the storm nearly tore the entire simulation apart. My oh my, we gotta take extra precautions with our next test.